Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, a flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
Check out the all-new Blue and Orange store at the Boise State Hall of Fame. The Blue and Orange store has your best game day gear. We're talking jerseys, hats, bumper stickers, car flags, more than 4,000 hats on the hat wall. If you want the best Boise State gear, make sure you check out the Blue and Orange store online at theblueandorangestore.com or the all-new Blue and Orange store down at the Boise State Allen Noble Hall of Fame.
Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Refreshing and goes down smooth. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
How's your day going?
Going good. Thank you. Yes.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.
You could win one of 2 trips to see Banana Ball live. Purchase 2 Body Armor products, use Let's Go Rewards, and you're entered to win. Right now, Body Armor is buy one, get one for $1 with Let's Go Rewards. Start getting those entries in. Let's go.
Around here, toughness isn't talked about. It's lived.
Matt Wagner with the one-handed catch down.
Early mornings, late nights.
Dorian Bowen with 4.
Work that doesn't make the highlight reel.
Same mindset, different uniform.
This is the blue-collar grit, earned, not given.
Tough days don't stop us. They build us.
McMillan shoots and scores.
For the workers who don't back down, Ford doesn't either.
Shannon fires.
Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live is the only daily show that talks nothing but Boise State sports. And we do it with you. Give us your comments or questions in the ICCU YouTube chat. Or leave us a voicemail on the Signature Roofing voice inbox at speakpipe.com/BNN. BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise, and our major sponsors, Taco Bell, Idaho Central Credit Union, rowpaint.com, and the Blue and Orange store. At Lithia Ford of Boise, we're proud to stand with Boise State Athletics. Through our NIL marketing partnerships, we're investing in the future of student athletes. Lithia Ford of Boise, here to get you there, wherever that may be. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Broadcasting from the Sun Cruiser Studios, here's BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
What's up, Bronco Nation? How we doing? Happy Wednesday to you. Bronco Nation News live here again as we do each and every weekday at 9 a.m. on the most part. If we got football practice, Tuesdays, Thursdays, changes the timing a little bit, but 9 a.m. each and every weekday here. We'll be here throughout the summer, even after the spring game ends, after all the portal news quiets down. We'll be here 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, getting you through the work week. Will be all kinds of summer plans to count down the 25 most important players, to count the 20 big questions. We got all kinds of summer content plans. So people always say, what are you going to cover during the summer? Plenty of news coming all summer, so don't worry about that. But for the next couple of weeks, we got spring football. We got the basketball transfer portal, a lot going on. And we appreciate you for joining us here in the Sun Cruiser Studios, whether it's the blueberry lemonade, all the iced tea lemonades, the vodka lemonades, so many different options and flavors. Get one at your local gas station or grocery store. And, of course, our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise. You wouldn't be able to do this show without Jim Sturk and Lithia Ford of Boise and Jamie Drake and the whole crew over there. So appreciate them. Lithia Ford of Boise, online, lithiafordboise.com for that new or pre-owned vehicle. And a lot of other great sponsors that make this show possible. We'll tell you about them throughout the show, many of which you see behind us here. We have a good show planned for you today, kind of a random show going a lot of different directions. We're going to talk some transfer portal basketball news. We're going to talk about spring football. The new center talked yesterday. I want to hear a little bit from him. Was very impressed with Stu and what he's got going on. I think you guys are going to enjoy his story. We are going to talk to the agent for Scott Matlock. That is Buddy Baker. Buddy Baker is Scott Matlock's agent. We're continuing to get you ready for the NFL draft. And Adam Enro, 27 years in scouting for the Miami Dolphins. He was on the College Game Day ESPN podcast for like 90 minutes. I encourage you to go listen to that. But he's been joining us now weekly and bringing on some guests. And Buddy Baker, Scott Matlock's agent, is going to come on and talk about Scott and some other NFL clients that he's had and from Boise State and NIL and how crazy that world is. And then here we are 8 days from the draft. What's that like for the agent and the players? And we'll get Buddy Baker's thoughts. And then Justin Shults going to join us as well. Going to talk a little softball, 10 o'clock. They had a tough loss over in Pocatello to Idaho State last night, but they're back. And Coach Shults is going to join us. We'll talk a little Boise State softball, previewing a big weekend series with UNLV as well. So a lot to get to here on Bronco Nation News, and we appreciate all of you for joining us. So we do have, as I mentioned, some interviews we're going to play. I enjoyed talking to Stuart, the center. Great stuff there, and we're going to get that interview for you here at some point this morning. But I'm riding solo until we get our two guests on as well. So any comments, thoughts, let us know. But we will start kind of with the news, I guess. I know, and that's basketball. I mean, I think a lot of you folks here want to talk football, want to talk offensive line, want to talk, wide receiver. And yeah, there's a lot to discuss there, and we will. And a lot of that will be tomorrow with Johnny and Friday with Prater. And we'll certainly talk about that here in a little bit. Like I said, we'll hear from Stu and talk about practice yesterday. And we did some of that on yesterday's show. But I do think, crazy enough, surprisingly enough, a random off day of spring football would typically still be talking mostly football. But I think with this basketball team, based on our numbers, based on our ratio of comments, based on our page views, is a lot of people are interested, good or bad, in this basketball program right now. And are they going to be able to replenish this roster and get this team competitive in the Pac-12? You're seeing Oregon State make a lot of moves in the portal. You're seeing Washington State make a lot of moves in the portal. San Diego State just got a big-time get yesterday from a guy from Rice, one of the top three-point shooters in America. And, where is Boise State in all of this? Brad says still waiting on some portal news as the rest of the Pac-12 loads up on their rosters. Yeah, we all are. Now, I will say this. There are thousands of players in the portal. There are a couple names I've heard out there or seen on social media that no one's really talking about that I said this yesterday, guys. If there's 4 players linked to Boise State on Twitter, there's probably 14 or 24 or 44 players that Boise State is talking to. So do not take just the fact that only 3 players have mentioned publicly that they're talking to Boise State as that being the case, because there are a lot of players that don't, and Boise State tries as much as they can to keep this stuff silent. So, I mean, we knew nothing about Damari Wheeler-Thomas until he already had, was pretty much locked up and signed and at the end. So I would not think, okay, these are the only 3 guys they're trying to get. What are they doing out there? They're talking to a lot of guys and put a lot of that in our transfer portal intel piece. Paid subscribers right now can go to BroncoNationNews.com. 60% off, by the way. Now's the time to join. 60% off for our spring portal special. You can get a full year to Bronco Nation News for like less than $5 a month or right at $5 a month. Now's the time if you're on the fence. Jump in, read all of our intel. But hearing some stuff in the portal, reading some stuff in the portal, and we kind of put it all together in terms of what we're hearing, what we see as possible, and how are these guys possible fits for the team. Nathan Carroll took a look at some of the analytics and some of the numbers. The guy I'm focused on right now is Caden Ward, Cal Poly, shooting guard, small forward, 14.5 points a game last year at Cal Poly, 6.3 rebounds. Reminds me a lot of like a Chibuzo Abo. Was reportedly visiting or setting up a visit to Boise State. Still trying to figure out if that happened or where he ranks. But again, a 6'6" wing. I think a lot in terms of what Boise State is looking for at that 2-3 guard spot he would provide. And so we're looking at Caden Ward, following him. And again, there's some numbers on him from Nathan and the analytics in the piece, which is for VIP subscribers right now at BroncoNationNews.com. Another intriguing piece of the puzzle here could be Abdul Bashir. He's from Auburn. And what he did at Auburn is not necessarily what stands out. A year ago, he was one of the top JUCO players in America, the number one, in fact, the top JUCO player in America, Casper College, averaged more than 27 points per game, was an All-American JUCO player, and, did some great things at JUCO. Went to Auburn and then played in 6 games and got hurt and missed the rest of the season. So he's got 1 year for sure, and then maybe 2 if he gets a medical shirt. But he's a 6'7" kind of wing player as well. Abdul Bashir, again, from Auburn. And if Auburn wanted him last year, SEC, he's certainly, you would think, good enough if healthy for Boise State. But he apparently had a Zoom call with Boise State yesterday or is supposed to today. And so we'll keep an eye on him. We mentioned Jakani Dieng, the 6'11" center from North Dakota State College of Science, had some insane numbers as a JUCO player last year. But in terms of a backup big, I think he's interesting. Northern Illinois' Mekhi Valentine. Hasn't been a lot of talk by him, but there was a report on his social media post that he had Boise State was one of the schools that had showed some interest. 13 points, 36% three-point shooter, 5 rebounds a game. The Northern Illinois guard is an interesting guy. And so some other guys out there, we'll see. And Justin Ray, a Monmouth guard, has listed Boise State on his list. 11 points a game at Monmouth, shot 42% from 3. And then, a couple of names we've talked about. Jaquarius Stanback, maybe some news today. One of our board posters has some ties to North Carolina and claims that Jaquarius Stanback loved his visit and that good news is coming today. We'll see if that ends up being the case. He's the Alabama State kid, was the SWAC defensive player of the year. There's some buzz on our message boards about him. So we'll see if Jaquarius Stanback is in the mix. And if that happens today, that'd be huge for Boise State. He's a young guy and pretty raw, but he's a very athletic guy if you go watch his film. And another name that I'm going to keep an eye on, 2 names. One of them is Liam Campbell. We haven't heard a lot about him, but a local kid from Boise, St. Mary's transfer. I still think it makes some sense maybe there. He had a, redshirted, was going to go to USC with Musselman, was going to go to USC, then didn't, got Musselman, went to St. Mary's, redshirted, played a year. I still think he's an option for off the wing. And then I'm not giving up hope on Robert Viola as well. He'll need a waiver because he only played in like 5 games last year before he got hurt, but played at Fresno State, played at San Jose State. He said Boise State was his other finalist before he committed to Minnesota last year, which kind of came out of nowhere. But Robert Viola is a center and did some big things. At San Jose State was 7.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, had almost a block and a half a game. He'll need to get a waiver, but Robert Viola is something you might want to keep an eye on because I haven't seen anything linked to him publicly. I've heard behind the scenes he's a name to watch. And I had already mentioned it the second I saw him go in the transfer portal that I thought he was a guy have a chance to do that. So to come to Boise State, I certainly think he is an option there, and we'll have to keep track of that. It's going to be a good day. So I think that there could be some portal news coming today. Yeah, it could be. Is it strategy that we're targeting a lot more lower level players than normal? It could be. I mean, that is a way to maybe get a little bang for your buck. It could be. Yeah. I mean, again, there's two ways you can do it. You can take the Power 5. Last year was an anomaly, folks. You don't get the starting point guard from UCLA. You don't get the starting center from Georgetown very often to transfer to Boise State. You just don't. So let's just not think that's the norm. Let's look at the past for Boise State. What have they typically gotten? They've either got lower level players, if you're calling them that, or they've gotten, with big stats, they've gotten lower level players. A Marcus Shaver at Portland had big stats. A Mladen Armouche at an East Tennessee State. So either Division I players from smaller conferences or even non-Division I JUCO players. They've brought in Najee Smith from a JUCO. They've brought in guys before. Lucas Milner was a big that came from a community college in Kansas. They've certainly done that. They've brought in those guys, and those guys have the bigger stats maybe, or they've brought in the Power 4 transfers that have ridden the bench. The Chibuzo Abos, the Emmanuel Acots, the Abu Kijabs, like they brought in those guys. You don't typically bring in power conference players with actual stats. So you have to decide, are you more intrigued by the former 4-star kid riding the bench at Texas Tech, or a guard from Monmouth that averaged double digits, or a guard at Northern Illinois that averaged double digits. Cal Poly, 15 points a game. I like the production. I like guys you've seen score, you've seen do it, you've seen they have a tape and didn't sit a bench all year. But I also see the point where if that guy's a good player and he's going to break out and he just needs an opportunity, and let's face it, Boise State deserves the benefit of the doubt in both cases. They knew that Chibuzo Abo was ready to bust out from Texas Tech. They knew that Abu Kijab was ready to be a main player. I mean, the guys they've gotten, let's be honest, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. So I don't know the reason for the strategy. I think they just want the best players, and also with how crazy the portal is and every team needing 10 new players, maybe you have a better chance as a Boise State with some of the smaller players. But I mean, let's face it, there's good basketball at every level. Last year, Boise State, one of their best players was an NAIA player in Javen Buchanan. So I would not be turned off by Boise State recruiting, quote, lower level players, as Brad put there. That's worked in the past. I think it's probably trying to save a little money. And also, Leon's been talking a lot about how he wants the quote dogs. I think there's a lot of dogs at the lower level that have that chip on their shoulder and looking for their chance. A guard from Monmouth, a guard from Cal Poly, come play in the Pac-12 next year and let's see what you can do. You finally get your chance. Not to say if you transfer from UCLA, you're not a dog, but let's be honest, what you're getting at UCLA, money-wise, facilities-wise, all that stuff is not the same as a guy coming from Cal Poly. So I think there's a lot of dogs out there that are fighting for their chance, want to prove they can play at this level, and maybe are better fits in some cases for what they're looking for from those dogs than some guys at some power conference teams that have maybe been pampered their whole life with deals and things like that. So I don't know the exact reason. If that ends up being the case, we'll talk to Leon. We'll talk to the coaches. We'll find out exactly why that is the case, if it all pans out that way. But there are players at every level. I would not be alarmed if Boise State isn't getting a transfer from Duke. Okay, if they're getting Cal Poly and Monmouth and some of these other guys from lower level schools, I really would not worry too much about that yet. Like I said, I know it's a kind of a polarizing thing. Leon Rice, you love him or hate him, but and you're going to have your side and make your decision no matter what. But the facts are 17 of the 23 Division I transfers Boise State has brought in, in Leon Rice's tenure have worked out, have been a net plus. So 76%, I think it is. We did the numbers at BNN. So more times than not, you're going to get a return, and it's going to work out for you when Leon Rice brings in a transfer. So I don't know exactly why all the players are lower level, but I'll tell you a lot of lower level players can play. And those guys are waiting for an opportunity, and I think let's keep that in mind. As fans, expect things to happen fast. The portal in general is going a lot slower this year, maybe because there's just so many players. But, I mean, there were over half of college basketball's players went into the portal this year, guys. Half of college basketball's players. So let's, like I said, I know some teams are signing players. Fresno's getting players now. Oregon State's had a really nice haul, but like that's not still 1,500 plus players in the portal, and a lot of names are very intriguing that are still out there. And so we're going to monitor this and see, but I think there's some quality players out there that can still help Boise State's team. Magoon Guath going to DePaul. Yeah, that was insane. I totally agree, Sky. I mean, Kentucky apparently was offering him a 2-year deal. That just tells you all you need to know about college basketball. I mean, is DePaul even better than San Diego State in terms of, I know you're in the Chicago area and, you Big East, but I mean, DePaul basketball, is that really now a more attractive thing for a possible NBA draft pick than San Diego State if it's coming down to those two? I wouldn't think so. So I certainly think that that was a very odd one. Again, in this day and age, guys, with the portal, with money, it's not about, a lot of things that it used to be about anymore. It's not about your relationship with the coach. It's not about the opportunity. It's about money, and in some cases playing time, and that is it. But in a lot of cases, it's money, and that's it. Who's going to give me the best deal? Who's going to pay me the most money? And for San Diego State to be losing all the guys that they are, I think that just kind of reinforces, that it's not the era that it used to be. The Drew Fielders, the Andrew Meadows that used to stay here, they're getting double, triple, quadruple the money somewhere else. They're gone. And if that means it's at DePaul, they're gone. Like I would not have seen that coming, especially if a school who in their right mind ever would have turned down Kentucky for DePaul? I mean, that would have never happened in college basketball. And that just tells you all the way everything you need to know. BJ Davis to Creighton. Creighton's a quality program that, McDermott, the coach, did just retire though. So I'd have a little hesitation there. That's an interesting one. That is, again, Big East, but I don't, again, that's not to me, unless he got a huge bag, is Creighton really a better situation than San Diego State to live in San Diego and play basketball and have a chance to, I don't know. That's another one. And no, you don't have to worry about this one. BJ Raines to Fresno. No, that's not happening. Definitely don't have. There's some cities in the mountain. There's some cities in the Pac-12 and Mountain West that I wouldn't mind living in, but Fresno, California is certainly not one of them. So we'll follow it. As I said, BroncoNationNews.com, BroncoNationNews.com. You can jump on there and subscribe. 60% off right now. If you want to become a paid subscriber, we'd love to have you. Now's the perfect time if you've been on the fence about it. 60% off, like $5 a month. And we're posting daily football coverage, basketball coverage, and our transfer portal info intel piece that just got posted this morning. Tons of great information on all these transfers from Nathan that Boise State's looking at. And so if they do get them, maybe you can decide, looking at this list, who your rankings are, who you want the most, and I encourage you to go on there and check that out. So that's at BroncoNationNews.com right now. All right. Again, we have a fun show coming up for you today. Buddy Baker, Scott Matlock's agent, is going to join us. Adam Enro is going to join us as well. I thought he was too big time for us doing the College Game Day podcast, but he's still carved out a few minutes for us here on BNN, and we appreciate that. But and then we're going to talk NIL, the draft next week, all kinds of good stuff. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to talk softball. Justin Shults, the Boise State softball coach, had some couple really nice wins early in the season, some nice non-conference wins, but now in conference here, they're really struggling. They've got to make up some ground just to qualify for the conference tournament. So we'll talk a little Boise State softball at 10 o'clock with Justin Shults as well. So going to go a longer show today. Want to cover a lot of different topics, but hopefully you guys on a rainy day are just enjoying some Boise State talk here and the various sports, and we'll keep it going with no practice today, nothing else going on. So I figured a little extended show would be good today. Let's see what else we got. All right, so we are going to do that in about 5 minutes, but I do want to thank a couple of sponsors that make this show free of charge, and want to talk a little Boise State football as well. We are going to hopefully hear from Stu, the center. Lithia Ford of Boise wants to remind you that Sunday's game, 12 o'clock game on Sunday against UNLV, there is going to be a meet and greet after the game. Shannon Keegren, one of the pitchers on the team you see her there, has an NIL deal, and some players will be signing autographs after the game. Free signed softballs. So if you have a kid, you want to go watch some softball, it's supposed to be great weather on Sunday, and meet the players after the game and get a free signed softball. That's courtesy of Lithia Ford of Boise. So get out to the softball complex this weekend. They got home games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against UNLV, but make plans for the meet and greet on Sunday, and that is against UNLV, 12 o'clock from our friends at Lithia Ford of Boise. Hey, Sun Cruiser, the blueberry lemonade, the new flavor is outstanding. They have pink lemonade, strawberry lemonade. They have the half and half. If you're a tea guy, they have the raspberry, the peach tea vodkas as well. So many different flavors and options, and you can get it at your local gas station or grocery store. They've now started selling the 12 packs, 8 packs and 12 packs from our friends at Sun Cruiser. Pick one up today. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Idaho Central Credit Union. Check them out. We appreciate their support of Bronco Nation News pretty much since the beginning of BNN. They've jumped on board, and not surprising given what they do to support the local community. They're on board now with Learfield, with Boise State as an official sponsor as well. So Idaho Central Credit Union, you think you may like your banking experience. I can promise you'll like ICCU that much more once you make the switch. Again, Idaho Central Credit Union, online, ICCU.com. Hey, Banana Ball is coming to Boise this summer. It's also coming to Eugene, Oregon. If you did not win the lottery to get tickets to Banana Ball, we got 2 chances for you to win, and that's courtesy of our friends at Jackson's and using your Let's Go Rewards app. Banana Ball, Eugene, Oregon, Boise, Idaho. Buy 2 body armor products using your Let's Go Rewards app, and you get the second one for $1, and you get entered to try to win 2 trips to Banana Ball. Jackson's, that's all courtesy of our friends at Jackson's. Visit a local Jackson's location today. Hey, Taco Bell, and again, lots of great stuff coming up here on the show momentarily. TacoBellWorks.com, whether it's a, breakfast quesadilla, whether it's the crunchy chicken cantina tacos, they're adding to the menu daily, folks. And it's a delicious food, great prices, and it's a good time. Visit a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location today. We got pitching lesson tonight, hitting practice, I guess, for one of my kids' teams. So it might be a Taco Bell night in the Rains household, and a couple of cheesy roll-ups and a slushie, and my kids are good to go. So thanks to the SOM Management Group and the Nicolason family. Check them out at TacoBellWorks.com. And if you need that Boise State gear, the Blue and Orange Store has you covered online, the blueandorangestore.com. They have the location there at the Boise Allen Noble Hall of Fame right there at Boise State, where you can get your customized jerseys in minutes. They have the location at the Boise Town Square Mall, where they have 14,000 hats on the hat wall. And, of course, you can order anywhere in the world online, the blueandorangestore.com. The best selection, the best prices, it's online, the Blue and Orange Store, the blueandorangestore.com. All right, checking the comments here. Tyree not liking the rain. Was on vacation in Phoenix. It's been a rude return so far this week. Yeah, it hasn't been great weather. No water in Vegas soon. I'll actually be in Vegas next weekend for a kids baseball tournament, George. And yes, I am going to Vegas, but not for good. I'm happy to be here in Boise. Let's see what we got. Love what you do. Have other schools in for interviews. Yeah, we usually do that over the summer with basketball at least. I do some Lindy's Magazine stuff, so we try to get some of those coaches on and tag team them. And then we got some stuff in the works for Tom Moser. We're going to try to keep him on board and maybe do some summer shows with some of the coaches with Tom on the basketball side for the Pac-12 and maybe even some of the Mountain West schools as well. So there's more coming on that here in the near future. But I mentioned Boise State football. They have tomorrow the next practice, and then obviously they'll have the spring game next Saturday. That's coming up there. We have the draft next week, so we'll get back to all of that. Adam Enro, 27 years, NFL scouting director all the way up, joins us weekly here on BNN. We appreciate Adam for doing that. Adam, I thought in our contract you were not allowed to do other interviews. When I saw you on College Game Day podcast the other day, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, man.
Well, Pete Damel's a really good friend of mine, and he asked me to be on, and when someone from ESPN asked you to be on their show, you're on their show. So it was a lot of fun. It was only supposed to be 15, 20 minutes, but it ended up being like an hour and a half. And Dan Wetzel's a lot of fun if you've ever met him.
Yeah.
A lot of big personality there. So, no, it's fun, just talking about the background of really what scouts do, stories. They're very interested in how many nights I've stayed in a Marriott. So, yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it and got a lot of interesting feedback. A lot of even my friends in the college basketball world have got a bunch of texts from them because they weren't aware about it. My friends in Major League Baseball, same thing. So it was fun.
Yeah. No, I was all jokes aside. That was pretty cool. You got to go on there and do that. And I know at some point we were hoping probably have to be after the draft now, but maybe later this spring, Pete Thamel will return favor and come on this show. But we're 8 days away from the draft, and you've brought us another outstanding guest. Why don't you introduce our guest here, and we'll bring him on. Adam.
Yeah, we're having Buddy Baker on, and Buddy, first of all, is a really close friend of mine. We started in the business around the same time. We're about the same age. We grew up in the NFL business. Buddy has taken a small firm and developed it into one of the biggest firms in the NFL, and it's his own company. So he's very good at what he does, and I thought it'd be a good side note here to have him on the show because he spent over the last 20 years coming to Boise recruiting players, and he I see your NFL draft hat. That's
whenever we talk draft, I got to put the hat on. Yes.
But Buddy's been here several times, and some of his first clients in the league were Boise State legends, and that went on to play in the league for a long time and helped build up his company. And what I appreciate about Buddy is, one, he's very to the point and is good at his job, and he's kind of a bulldog. But he also recruits guys that are good people and good individuals who go on after their careers and do great things. I mean, he can talk about Chris Carr, Chris is an impressive human being that, played here, but since his NFL days are over, has gone on to do great things in life. So that's what I always appreciate about Buddy. Not to kiss your butt too much here, buddy, but he gets quality humans, and you can make good living what he's done, and he's done it the right way. So I respect Buddy a lot, and I love him a lot because he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Buddy, thanks for coming on, man. How's it going?
Great. I appreciate the introduction. I need to do this every week just for my ego. I mean, I'm going to feel better about myself heading into the second half of the week. We need a pre-draft prep call next week. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, yeah, I know the draft's 8 days away. You're extremely busy here. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat. We've been kind of enjoying the different angles of the agent, scout relationship and all the different things we've been talking about. But before we kind of dive into this for all of our viewers here in Boise, what is the Boise State connection? I know Scott Matlock's the guy that a lot of people here are following and loving on both sides of the ball, what he's doing. And I'll ask you about Scott specifically in a second. But how did it start with the Boise State connection, and maybe go down some of the names in memory lane that folks are going to know here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam hit the nail on the head, right? We're, kind of go back. We started in the business around the same time, and I'll say this for his benefit either as well, but one of the best evaluators I've been around. And so I didn't know that early on, right? We just knew that we had a good friendship that was growing in 25 years ago or so. And we really started developing that, and we both started growing in the business. And he would tell me about some players that were in Boise that were good players. And as he echoed, to me, it's really important that they're good people, right? Because we don't, like, when Adam brings them into a building as an NFL executive, he has to work with them, right? We have to live with them during their careers, after their careers, outside of their careers. So for me, character is of critical importance. Chris Carr was one of those early ones. Gabe Franklin, Alex Guerrero, still a Boise legend for a multitude of reasons. Corey Hall, Legadunane, obviously Scott Matlock recently, Vinny Peretta. So the list goes on. And so once you kind of have some success there, I was asked to speak to the team a couple of times. And obviously my friendship with Adam, always good to go where your friends are and spend some time with them as well. So it really started 20 plus years ago, coming out there and kind of, going into that and trying to find players and then finding great ones, and then kind of built off of that. And then as life happens, you have families, and so travel becomes a little bit more difficult and challenging. Your business grows. Kind of took a little bit of a lull, and but still recruited a lot of players out there. Some worked, some didn't. And it's obviously been, and watch the development of this program. I remember that, that bowl game when they're playing Oklahoma, and watching it with my daughter, who's now older, when she was young, and watching that and just kind of seeing those guys, and ultimately signing a couple of them, and really watching the boom of this program, if you will, from a program that was a small program to a national powerhouse, and has produced some great players.
Well, we appreciate you for coming on, and Buddy Baker again, NFL agent, and Scott Matlock's the current one. I know that everyone here is following. What I one on him, and then we'll move into the draft and the NIL and some of this. But just tell folks out there, I don't think anybody in Boise's all that surprised seeing what he did in Boise. And it's usually the case, whether it's Khalil Shakir, all these guys from Boise. We all see him in Boise, and we're like, yeah, you can't. What are you doing? You're going to screw this up. Why aren't they taking him? Whatever. And they fall 5th, 6th, 7th round, and then they surprise in the NFL, and everyone's like, well, we saw this coming. I don't know why no one else did, but you obviously did. You believed in this guy. And what is it about him and what he's doing on both sides of the ball and the fit that he found with the Chargers there? And it just seems like it was kind of the perfect fit. And the fact that he's doing things on offense, on defense, on special teams, he was a fan favorite here in Boise, and it's been great to see him continuing and making a nice role here in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was a really good player, and we saw him as a guy that can play defensive line, and still see him as a guy that can be an impactful defensive lineman in the NFL. But again, the character, the background, all those things were significant and kind of why we recruited him. And again, because for us, the draft is important. The draft is very important for teams, for agents, and for players. It's about having sustainability in the league. And so when we look at a player like Scott, you say, what is he going to be? Now, again, he's about 25 or so guys who are not invited to the combine get drafted each year. Scott Matlock was one of those guys. Corey Hall was one of those guys. So, ironically, one linebacker converted to fullback, one defensive tackle who also plays now fullback. We have Pat Ricard in the NFL who was similar role. And so we saw him as a guy that is a sustainable NFL player. Why? Because he had the athletic talents, the traits. He has the work ethic and all the intangibles, the intelligence and the wherewithal to have that ability to put him in the best position to be successful. And Scott's going to never fail because of something that is in his control. And he's shown that. And so no matter where they put him, he's been effective. And, I think he still has a lot of ability as a defensive lineman, and he's shown that he can be really impactful on the offensive side of the ball. And you also hit the nail on the head as well as on special teams. So again, when you maximize who you are, unfortunately, our world and certainly our business is littered with players who don't do that. So it's really cool when you find players that do.
But by the way, on a side note, Vinny Peretta, him and my son play baseball, match up a lot. Great. Love Vinny. Great. Not a lot of better guys out there. I mean, everybody on your list, Alex Guerrero, all those guys are Corey Hall, guys that are in town and doing, and that's what's great too. A lot of those guys stick around town and stuff, but side note, love Vinny Peretta and see him pretty often at the ball fields. But okay, I know you have a ton of clients. I know Terry McLaurin is one of your big ones, and you got a lot of guys out there, college, pro, NIL, and this whole thing's going crazy right now. I mean, we're in the middle of portal season for basketball here at Boise State, and they've lost multiple players to just big time deals elsewhere, and a school like Boise State develops these guys and then just can't keep them, and portal and how crazy the money and NIL is getting. It's just a big topic in Boise right now. So I know from the football side, it's not that different. I mean, Boise State lost a player to LSU, a safety this year that a lot of folks, thought, oh, he's a Boise State guy. He bleeds blue, he'll never leave. He's either going pro or going to stay. I mean, I know you're seeing on both sides now, and from the college side too, you've got some deals and some players there. What do you just make of the current landscape and climate of NIL and college sports, and I guess in particular football and basketball? And is there any way it ever slows down? Where do you see it going? Because it the last couple of years, it certainly has hit Boise State here with some transfers.
Well, I'd say a couple of things. One, no one knows what the future looks like, right? I talked with a high school player yesterday, and I told him it could be different by the time you graduate, right? We had probably about 15 plus college GMs in our office during the NFL Combine because our office is based in Indianapolis. And I asked them, what do you think it looks like in 10 or 15 years? We got 10 to 15 different answers, right? No one knows how this thing's going to play out. Will it ever revert back to what it was? No. Will it look different? How does that look? It could look different in a year from now, but certainly in 10 years from now, it will. What do I think? I was at Rutgers practice yesterday. You got to know where your program is. I think, all kidding aside, people like Adam Enro, who's an incredible evaluator, our programs need to have great evaluators, right? So when you're at a place like Rutgers, by way of example, good program, good coach, but they're not going to have the same resources as the top of that league. So they have to be better in the evaluation process, right? As they develop players, maybe those players will leave to go to the Ohio States and the Alabamas and Texas, etc. But that's just part of the business. So you have to have a plan and you have to have a strategy on how you're going to do it. Every program is going to be different contingent upon who they are, right? And so I think that evaluation of players now becomes critically important. Evaluation of your own players, character, and understanding who you're going to be able to keep, who you unlikely going to be able to keep becomes essential. So I think understanding what if you're a Boise State, where you fall, that's part of it, right? You're going to lose some players, but guess what? So the other teams are within your conference, right? And the other schools within your conference. So how do you stack up? Everything is relative, right? And so I understanding that and understanding how to maximize players, understanding how to get the best out of them, knowing who they're going to be, how to replace them. We just had Michigan, win a national championship in basketball, right? With 5 transfers. It's part of it, right? Conversely, I represent Matt Painter at Purdue, right? The 4 of their 5 starters, and then and their big 3, if you will, were guys that were there for 4 and 5 years. So programs are going to develop players different ways. The point is, each program is going to have its niche. And Boise State, to be successful in the football and the basketball world, is going to have to cultivate its niche so it can be a player. James Madison figured out a way last year, right, to get into the playoffs. North Texas did the same. Talent evaluation, good coaching, those things can distinguish your program. And I think that that's even more important in the modern day more than ever.
I agree, buddy. You're talking about the college landscape changing. Talk about, if you would, your business landscape has changed. You've, it used to be where agents just went after draft prospects, and now your world has gone into recruiting, freshmen in college, sophomores in college, and then even, good high school players, to where you've got to help them in the portal process and negotiations, because I've seen it and you've seen it too, that it's gone from the street agent or the track trainer coach working these deals to actually real representation by NFLPA agents. Talk about that process in your business and the changing landscape there, and how's that affected you guys?
Yeah, look, a lot of people don't want to, you say, oh, keep the ball off my lawn, right? And they don't want to talk about, oh, this new way is crazy. I love it, right? I've embraced it. Why? Because we think we can help our clients historically in the NFL, no matter where they went. The Chris Carrs, I think they would echo some of those things, right? The Scott Matlocks, et cetera, maximize who they can be, right? Understand how to navigate through injuries, the political aspects, how to select which team they're going to in the event they become undrafted. If they're in free agency, how to navigate that landscape, and really get them to think about just life in general and how to deal with the peaks and valleys that happen in life and certainly happen in the world of the NFL and in football. Well, but the thing is, when you get a kid when they're 22 and 23 years old, they're not set in their ways, but they're certainly more set than they were when they were 16 and 17. So now we get, and sometimes Adam will tell you, these players are coming out of college and they're beat up. Their bodies are done, right? And schools tend to not understand and aren't worried about the implications when they're 27 and 28 years old and how that's going to affect them later in their career. They don't even worry about how it's going to affect their draft status. So we get involved in an early stage, teach these players, right, the ones that want to be taught. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. And find the ones, and because there's such a big pool of players, right, when you're talking about high school players and college players, and you get to help them figure this out, again, that's a pretty awesome. And the earlier you get them, you understand who their family is, you understand what surrounds them, what their priorities are in life, and you get to help shape them. So for us, it's been awesome and really rewarding from the high school, helping them transition into college. To Adam's point, college, as they navigate through that landscape. To Adam's point, you have a lot of agents, they'll move a kid for an extra $5, right? Well, these are young men that have an academic element, have a social component, right? They're growing in life and figuring out life during these collegiate years. And so you have these, as Adam referred to them, as these street agents coming in. They're not thinking about that. They don't care. And they're also not regulating their fees. So they're capitalizing on a window right now because it's an unregulated aspect of the industry, and that's a shame. So it's really cool when you come in and you do it the right way for the right reasons. And then hopefully if you do it that way, it's going to be a system where you can work with these players for even longer as they transition, and at least put them in the best position to become an NFL player. So for us, it's been like almost like a rebirth and a new level of excitement and exuberance to get these people. Now, sometimes we don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. They're not looking for that. They're looking for somebody that's going to kind of tell them what they want to hear as opposed to what they need to hear. Cool. I can't change that. Then we're not the right agency for them. If you want us to treat them truly like family, and Adam will tell you the way I would treat my own children, then that's what we're going to do. Fortunately, I'm not knowledgeable about a lot of things, but I am knowledgeable about this, right? And this world. And so we help them figure that out on the field, in football, in business. We're doing a symposium next week. We're going to have tax advisors and mental health and financial advisors for these players so that they understand how to navigate through these waters. And we find the players that that's what is important to them and to their families. So for us, it's been really cool business opportunity, but it's been a really cool life opportunity as well.
Yeah, we're talking to Buddy Baker. He is the president of Exclusive Sports Group, a longtime friend of mine, agent for over 25 years in the business. Buddy, I think the fans also kind of want to know what's going on with your draft clients going into the draft this year. I know you've got a big class with your group. What's their world like right now going up into the draft here coming up next week? What's going on with them and what's going on with your business?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of the work is done as you know, Adam, at this point, and so we've communicated with the 32 potential employers, which is really what there are, and the decision makers like you when you were sitting in those seats, and kind of helping them kind of get all the information out that we can, whether it's from a physical standpoint, a medical standpoint, right, and answering any unanswered questions, also helping your clients navigate through these waters. All that said, a big part of what we're doing now is we have some clients that are going to get drafted, and Aiden Fisher, who played at Indiana University, was their star linebacker, for the national champions. And we have other clients that may not, and you just don't know. We didn't know Scott Matlock, a guy like that, was going to wind up getting drafted. Again, only 25 players in the entire pool, right? How many players? About 2,000 players. Let's hear that number again. 2,000 players each year sign with an agent for the NFL draft, right? 325 or so invited to the combine. So that leaves around 1,675 who aren't, right? So they all think that they're a 326 player and they're going to get drafted. Only 25 of that 1,600 plus, almost 1,700 players get drafted. So obviously Scott was in that. So we can't count on that. So we say that. So we prepare our own reports, just like Adam did with the Dolphins for over 25 years, and they have their boards, we have ours, right? And so we're identifying what's the best opportunity for the players in the event that they don't get drafted. It's changed a little bit, to be honest with you, because in the last 4 or 5 years, really since COVID, there's been you can guarantee player salaries now, and a portion of it. So it's not just a $10,000 versus $20,000 signing bonus. We've had situations, there are situations where players are getting guaranteed, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, right? So if you have a club that's going to guarantee a player $300,000 and a club that's going to guarantee a player 0 or 10 or whatever it might be, that certainly has to be a consideration. So we're navigating through those waters. I just got off the phone with a general manager to see where they are, because again, if the general manager's like, I'm not familiar with that player, we note that, right? Because that means that player is probably not going to get as great an opportunity if we have to send them there. Because again, while everybody wants to get drafted as high as you can, the real business from the player's perspective is about sustainability. You talk about the Terry McLaurins of the world. Terry McLaurin came in out of Ohio State, and again, we're talking about this with Shiano yesterday at practice. He was such a great special teams player. And then they say, he's going to be a great special teams player in the NFL. He never played one down of special teams in preseason or regular season in his entire, 7 years career to date. So, and obviously he's been a star wide receiver and signed over $200 million of contracts in the NFL now. So, but again, we didn't know that was going to be the outcome. I wish I did. I can tell you I did, right? Doug Baldwin was another guy who came in that I represented that came in that did do those type of things. But we sent them there because of our connection, because of the opportunity, et cetera. He went on to have a legendary career with the Seattle Seahawks. So a lot of that is kind of, we're working through that and trying to do that. We're still getting some information out to teams, but really kind of identifying what we need to do in the event that those things happen.
And then I know Adam has one more, but I was going to say, I know you're not like in tune with all Boise State's prospects and you don't represent them or whatever this year, but they do have some guys that might be fringe 6th, 7th round guys versus, free agency, whether it's a Braxton Feely, a Matt Lauder, I know Cage Casey's, going to get his spot and get drafted and be fine, but kind of sounds like what you're saying there is, and I think it's kind of known by most people, but maybe for fans, like it's almost better sometimes to be the free agent versus the 7th round pick, right? And I know what I guess for some, you could speak generally, but for some of these guys on Boise State that might be late round picks, might be free agents, what's that like as an agent and trying to find them the best fit? And is there a point in the draft where you all of a sudden hope your guy doesn't get picked? Is it still a ego status thing for players to get picked? And a lot of times I know teams still do value the picks over the non-guys, right, when it comes to roster spots and stuff. But what would you say there to some fans that are going to be following the third day of the draft for Boise State guys?
Look, there's certainly not a one-size-fits-all, right? And there's no one answer. What I would say, so you generalize, say, generally, would you like to be a drafted player or an undrafted player, I think is your question. I think you have to go into it saying you'd rather be a drafted player. NFL teams have a finite number of draft picks, right? We know that they get draft picks via, obviously, not just getting them, but through comp picks and those type of things, which are all things which are strategically done by NFL teams. So, and they're valued, they're traded, they're used, and so they're assets for teams. So I think because of that, when a team invests one of you in that, you'd rather be a draft pick. That said, we have a player, Jonah Lou, who's going into his 3rd year with the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. He was drafted by the Colts. Probably wasn't the best situation for him. But again, we didn't have that choice, right? You don't have a choice on where you're getting drafted. Ultimately, he gets drafted by Indianapolis. They were going to put him on the practice squad. Fortunately, he got claimed. Only about 25 or so, again, of the 1,184 players that get cut get claimed. He got claimed by the Raiders because he was actually at their local day. And coming from there, he went to their local day. He gets claimed there. He's now a starter and a very valuable player with a very, very bright upside. So it worked out for him. So you can't, hindsight's always 20/20, and sometimes, yes, when you look back retrospectively, it's like, yeah, it's better for that player to have gone undrafted. And you had that Doug Baldwin is an example, right? And so we have Pat Ricard. We have countless examples of those type of situations. But again, none of us have a crystal ball. So going into it, you would prefer they are, but you have to have your ducks in a row if they're not. As Adam will tell you, undrafted free agency doesn't start after the 7th round. Undrafted free agency starts on day 3 of the draft, right? 4th, 5th, 6th round. By the 7th round, deals aren't, the I's aren't dotted and the T's aren't crossed, but deals are made. And that's just the reality of the business. And it's never going to change. And unless they change the rules, and I don't see that happening, right? And so you have to understand that, and there's a lot of gamesmanship that goes on. And again, it's just about advising your clients properly and keeping them calm and letting them know what's going to be happening. But that's what's going to be happening with those players that you said. And Boise State's done a great job of producing guys who maximize who they are. And that's the name of this business, right? Put yourself in the best position, maximize who you are. And then look, you don't control things. Right, Kurt Warner is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Why did he start playing? Because Trent Green got hurt. Tom Brady, arguably the best player. Why did he get? I'm not saying their careers, but I'm talking about 2 iconic players that got in. One was an undrafted player who played in the Arena League. The other guy was a 6th round pick. And why did they get opportunities? Because the guys in front of them got hurt. That doesn't happen. I don't know what the world looks like. Do they probably surface? I would guess. But they had. Kurt Warner specifically had him by then. Tom Brady was benched in college for a guy that went to go play baseball. So when you look at it, you don't know what would have happened, and you don't know how to control those situations. You can't predict the future on who's going to get an opportunity because of an injury. But again, being ready for that opportunity, I just told a young guy today, if you get 1 rep, turn it into 2. You get 2 reps, turn it into a 3. Don't complain about the reps. He said, what do I need to be prepared for? I said, be in the best shape of your life, because the gift that you can get is reps. And if you get reps, don't say, oh, I wasn't in football shape. That's an excuse. Dog ate my homework, right? So be ready for what's next. I think that's what's critically important.
Yeah, I think what the fans, interesting part of what Buddy was talking about, these undrafted guys, and Buddy's always been really good at this, and to explain to the listeners that when he said board, Buddy's agency, and Buddy, again, is good at this. It's like some teams ahead of time, are not going to be good fits, or this player needs to go in a certain scheme. Well, if that team reaches out, that's not a great fit. Or, they signed a guy in NFL free agency at running back, and then they drafted one in the 2nd round, and then they want you to sign with him. And Buddy knows ahead of time that that's not the best fit. So just to let the listeners know, that's what he means by them having their own board. And that's what good agents do. And they're realistic about what their clients, because Buddy's job is to put them in the best position to make a team and then earn a roster spot. So following up on that, Buddy, we talked about being in the business a long time, and you mentioned it a little bit, but what's the biggest changes you've seen in your world? I have my opinions in the scouting world, because the NFL has really, really changed, and college football has really, really changed over the last 20 years or so. So what do you think are some of the biggest changes you've seen in both areas?
Well, let me answer. I'm going to ask that in the question. One thing I would say, kind of going back, the other thing that you didn't say, which is a testament to you, but like that, for us, relationships matter, right? And so somebody like Adam, who has a great reputation, right? I just brought up Seattle and John Schneider, that you trust what they say, that means something. We don't have that same level of trust throughout the NFL with every organization and every decision maker, right? Like I would with an Adam Enro and I would with a John Schneider. So for me, when those things are said to me, that's going to have I will tell my clients, look, this person will not lie to me, and this is you're going to be your opportunity, right? Can't dictate what you do with it or what happens, but I can tell you they're not going to lie to me. And so so that matters in the process as well, which is something that we always take into consideration as well. One of the biggest, there's so many changes as you referenced, Adam, and alluded to. Look, one of the things I always tell people is, it's called the practice squad. It used to be called the developmental squad. We're not developing players anymore, right? That's an antiquated concept of what we're doing. And I think it's an antiquated concept now in college. It's been that way in the NFL for 15 plus years. It's now that way in college football. You don't have time, right? So right now, it's not as much an arms race, if you will, for these high school players. Outside the top 5 stars for the big power programs, it's just really not, right? Because they know they can get players in the portal, like you referenced earlier, that can make an impact. So they're not. So we sent the player to Texas Tech, and so I was talking with their general manager a few days ago, and we have a couple of kids that have committed there, and I want to say, well, how do they get in the field? How do they grow? How do they develop? That was what college football was. Right now, with the portal, with obviously student athletes being compensated, that's less likely to happen, right? And so they're not in the business of developing players. It's the pressure is on. The pressure's always been on in the business, in the multi-billion-dollar business of college sports. But I think that's the biggest change, right? That you have to identify, how a player is going to grow, and then where your goal is. Is your goal to maximize the amount of money you can make in college football? Is your goal to become an NFL player? Is your goal to become a sustainable NFL player? All those things need to go into effect, right? Navigating players through injuries has always been an important part of what we do in the NFL. Now we're going through it in college, right? And that's another cool part of it. You have certain schools that do a much better job. But again, as the agent, as somebody who works for the player, right, we can help them through a network that we have globally figure out what they can do. So there's so many changes, but the biggest change in the world of certainly college sports has been that it's always been big business. People just kind of wanted to live in denial of it. That's no longer the case. Right, it's always been a multi-billion-dollar business. Coaches were always getting compensated, right? TV deals were being done, etc. But now that players are being compensated, now it's we're operating under, and now players see it, etc. The other thing is it's funny because agents are part of the world of NFL, right? I've been doing this long enough and representing college coaches, where 25 years ago, our athletic director doesn't like dealing with agents. Well, that's no longer the case, right? And we're in the representation of major coaches and, of course, college sports. Well, obviously, we're new now. In the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years ago, people say, "Oh, we don't like dealing with agents." This football program doesn't like dealing with agents. Nobody says that. That's not sustainable. So now we just understand kind of what it is, and it's strange because team sports hasn't had this representation, right? We've seen tennis players and entertainers that have had representation since they're 12, 13 years old and individual type things, but it's not been in the team sport world, and I think the world is adjusting to that. I did an interview the other day, and they said, is this bad? Was this a problem because of this? I said, bad for who? right? TV ratings aren't down. Is it bad for student athletes? No. Are there some unintended consequences? Sure. Anytime you have a major shift in rules, that's going to be the case. The problem was that the transfer portal rule, where you could transfer right away, coincided with the compensation for athletes.
Yep.
Right? That was the major problem. If there was a staggering period, there was. Everyone thinks they had the immediate answer, but the answer might be inconsistent with the laws in our country. Right? So that's a problem, right? And so so everyone can sit there and cry over spilled milk. No, I don't necessarily think it's bad. Is there unintended consequences? Sure. Is there less, for lack of a better term, cheating in the modern day? You bet. Are schools really doing the ones cheating now behind the books? When you have just payrolls, you can call it cheating. You can call it doing the things a different way. You can call it what you want. It's big business. Big business has always been very challenging to regulate, no matter where you are. And so again, while there's unintended consequences, I don't think we're in this terrible state of college sports. Now, if you ask me, I live in the football world, somewhat in the basketball world because of representation of coaches. If you ask me, well, what's this going to do to the women's field hockey team? That's a different question. Right? That's a different question. How's hockey? How's these other sports in the Olympic sports? How are they gonna be able to be prevalent now in college sports? It's not my job to know that. Probably an unintended consequence and an issue. I don't profess to have all the answers, but that's something that certainly is an issue. But that's not the issue in the world of football and certainly men's basketball.
Well, buddy, we appreciate your time, man, giving us 30 minutes on a busy day. I got so many more questions, but we got another guest coming up, and you got stuff to get to, so maybe after the draft when things quiet down, we can get you back on, because I was watching that SEC documentary, and I forget the agent, but he had the coach and he had a player on the team that was trying to retain, and it was the weirdest dynamic. I don't know if you ever had that happen now, but appreciate you for jumping on. Thanks so much for the insight. Good luck with the draft next week, and we appreciate it, and hopefully we can catch up with you again soon. And continued success to Scott Matlock, and everyone here in Boise is certainly rooting for him.
All right. Appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Adam, thanks to you as well, man. We got another guest coming on, and I appreciate you, and great stuff. And looking forward to next week. We'll figure out the best day, but the draft is here, and I can't wait to dive into this. And next week's going to be a fun week. So appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See you, BJ.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Adam Enro, 27 years scouting in the Miami Dolphins organization. We appreciate him. Justin Shults, Boise State softball coach, coming up in just a second. I do want to thank Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate. #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, now is the time. Matt Bauscher, BauscherRealEstate.com. You need a roof? All this rain, is your roof leaking? How about Signature Roofing, covering our community more than 2 decades, whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, or an inspection, all your roofing needs. Hit up Signature Roofing. And again, speakpipe.com/BNN. You can leave us a voicemail. But if you need a new roof, now is the time. Signature Roofing. Tell them you heard about it on BNN. Again, mysignatureroofing.com. And hey, if you're on the fence about that next fencing project, Element Fencing has you covered. elementfencing.com. Decks, pergolas, fences. elementfencing.com. 25 plus years. Brady and his staff ready in the fencing business, ready to help you build that perfect project from the ground up. They fixed a fencing issue, a repair on our fence last year. So Element Fencing, they're ready to help you out right now. And again, elementfencing.com. Tell them you heard about it on BNN. They'll hook you up with a great deal. Not exactly softball weather today here in Boise with the rain falling, but our friend Justin Shults, nice enough to talk some softball with us and jump on. Coach, I know a tough one last night, late night getting back, but appreciate you coming on. How's it going?
Yeah, of course. I always appreciate coming on, BJ. How you doing?
Doing good. It's we're getting into tournament season for my boys, and you guys are in the thick of conference play. The weather's warming up here, so it's the Masters is now over with. It's a great time of year here. One quick one. I know you heard the end of that conversation there. Buddy Baker is an NFL agent, has Scott Matlock, a lot of guys, and we were just talking about NIL and all that. And I know your program obviously was hit with that last year. What from the softball perspective, what do you just make of everything? What's it like in softball compared to what we're seeing? And we're seeing, with the basketball team losing some guys, largely due to finances, and their budget's certainly bigger than yours. But what do you what's your take on, just from the softball perspective, where things are headed with NIL and rev share and transfer portal and all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I liked his take on it, saying that like big business has always been around college athletics. Now it's streaming towards the players, and so yeah, it affects everybody for sure. Obviously, the maybe the bigger conferences or whatever you want to call it have a little bit more resources, but that's always been something that we've had to deal with even prior to the transfer portal and rev share and NIL and all that stuff. And so I liked his take on it. It was going towards coaches, now it's going towards players. I think we just need to figure out a way to regulate it. At the end of the day, these should be 18 to 22-year-old athletes, and I think getting some regulations along with all the money will continue to help drive a really quality product, not just on the softball side, but for all college athletics.
I know you're not going to make excuses. You have who you have and all that stuff, but I mean, you went out and identified some high-level, now SEC caliber players on your team, and they're no longer on your team. How, from a softball perspective, I know, like I said, some other schools can just go buy another player and fill that spot, and you project, 2, 3, 4 years, or you'd like to, with what you have on this roster. Like I said, I know you're not going to make excuses. It is what it is. But how tough is that to build a roster at a Boise State in Pac-12 softball when you do the homework, you find somebody, and then a year later they're playing at Tennessee?
Yeah, that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Obviously, loved all those kids. I'm wishing them the best. It's frustrating to used to be able to anticipate, okay, as a 16-year-old, they're coming in. What do they look like at 22? Now we're lucky if we get them 18, 19 years old, and they may be moving on. We have to live in a world where we have to figure out a way to get the best out of our product today, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And so right now, I think we have a very talented roster. You saw that early in the season. Obviously, lately we've hit a little bit of a slide. I think we're struggling a little bit here lately, but I think for us, it's getting back to the basics, and we have to figure out a way to play complete softball with our roster. Yes, losing athletes hurts. But there's tons of talent in our locker room, and I'm proud of what we've been able to do. We just have to become more consistent.
So how much are you no longer looking at, oh, this person has 3 years left versus are they available next year? And when it comes to adding players, who you have, I know you're trying to, how much more is it a 1 year thing? And this is my roster for this year, and then I'll remake it for next year, and I'll remake it again the next year. I know it's not this. I know it's not happening in this simple of a way, but like, how much do you have to, with young players, with playing time and things like that, think about the following year? Or do you at all, in terms of keeping them happy to want to stay, versus if you play them too much, then other schools might want? There's just a whole different conversations and things you have to think about now that you probably didn't in the past.
Yeah, I will say this, and you know me well enough, BJ. One thing that I will never do is I will never play somebody praying that they stay. We preach in our locker room, the best 9 will play. Even if you were all conference kid the year before, if somebody comes in as a freshman or a transfer and has a better fall than you, we are going to play the best 9. And so what does that look like day to day? Really just depends. But for me, I can't live in like the what ifs, because at the end of the day, the college athletics is so fickle. If I give somebody playing time that that's not the best 9 today, who knows if they even stay even with that playing time. And so for me, I'm living day by day, and I've got to. We're going to have an alumni weekend this weekend, and I think I owe it to the program and the people who came before us to try to put the best quality on the field every single day, regardless of what the future holds.
Justin Shults, our guest, Boise State softball coach. UNLV in town this weekend. Should be much better weather. Friday, Saturday, Sunday should be beautiful weather. And I know you got a lot of events and things going that we'll talk about, like you said, one of which is the alumni weekend. But where are you just overall right now, Justin? You mentioned struggling a little bit. So historic, type wins early in the season. I think the 2 best wins in program history. And then you look at the standings and you're sitting in 8th place right now. Just overall, how do you feel sitting at 20-26? I think 6-10 in conference play, and just, I think you're 1 game back, right? 9 games left. You got to get in that top 6 to get into the conference tournament here. But just the highs and lows of the season. What's just your general overall take of where you guys are at?
Yeah, the quality wins early show what type of team we have. The consistency is where we need to grow on. The one nice thing is we talked about at the beginning of the year, our goal was never to win the regular season. We've won the regular season in the past, still didn't get into the conference or into the NCAA tournament. Our goal was always to be top 6 and go win the conference tournament. And so when I look at goals, we still control our own destiny. And that's something that I'm really excited about. We've got 9 meaningful games left. We got 6 at home for fans to show up for and help our student athletes feel that love and feel that the community. So for me, yes, it's underachieving 100% by my standard. but we still control our own destiny to go achieve our goals for the year.
Young pitching staff. We talked about that going into the year, obviously. 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores. What's your take on your pitching so far?
Yeah, we need consistency out of them. I love what Lola's been doing. Lola McNamara has been really, really consistent. Really liked what Cody and Charlie did yesterday at Idaho State. We kind of went with a bullpen day over there to really try to learn about our team a little bit more. Got really good outings from Cody, some big strikeouts. Charlie got out of a jam. And then our sophomores have been consistent. Like they're doing what they did last year, maybe a little bit better at times. We just, once again, it's day by day of knowing who's showing up in the circle is going to help us down the stretch with these last 9 games.
I know it's not, I mentioned it's not as easy for you to go and get somebody when you lose somebody, but you went out and Marissa Gonzalez, South Carolina, and redshirt senior comes in, maybe your best offensive player. What has she done? And then I wanted to ask about Skylar too, just not playing a whole lot. And then, in the past and getting an opportunity this year and taking advantage of it, leading the team in RBIs.
Yeah, Marissa's been huge. I've known her since she was probably 14 years old, kind of from the Fresno area. And so when I saw her go to South Carolina, obviously knew she was going to do good things over there. And so when she hit the portal, that was somebody I knew we needed to fill some voids. I knew she had more power than what her numbers showed at South Carolina. She's a great kid, a great leader. I know she's only been here for 1 year, but she has a polarizing personality that the team really kind of is drawn to. And so really, really proud of what she's done. She's swinging it confidently. And, yeah, she's cashed in a lot of runs. So I'm excited to see her last nine-plus games in her career.
And I know 4 straight games with 4 straight homers for Kate Penberthy, right? The 3rd Bronco in program history to do that.
Yeah, Kate's another one. Been working really hard the last few weeks. A lot of people see right now the 4 home runs in a row. She's hitting, I think, like 500 or 600 over the last 5 or 6 games. But she had a rough patch too. And the one thing about her is she never stopped working. Got in the cages, figured out what she needed to do to get better. And so it's fun to see her kind of reaping those benefits right now.
What's been the one? I mean, if you say for someone, you're 20 and 26, whatever I said, maybe you're not exactly happy overall. Has it been a combination of things? Is there one obvious thing to you where it's like we just didn't have enough of this, or we don't have enough of this yet, or it's been our defense or our pitching or our hitting or 2 out RBIs or whatever else? I mean, what to you, and maybe this is a better question for after the season, but I mean, right now with 9 games to go, what if you got some magic potion here to turn this thing around, what would you like to see?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about being really good in 2 of the 3 phases every day, whether it's pitching and defense, hitting and defense. And I think why we are struggling is we're not seeing those 2 of those phases show up daily. Sometimes it's good pitching with bad defense and hitting. Sometimes it's good defense and we don't score runs and our pitching walks too many or whatever it may be. And so I think we're not having that consistency. We've got tons of talent and had really good individual performances. We're just not piecing it together on a nightly basis right now. But real quick, I do want to dive back into, you asked about Skylar and I talked about Marissa Gonzalez and Kate. And one thing we talked about kind of like your last segment was like players are leaving and it's not, you don't necessarily get them for 4 years. I think Skylar's a really cool story. Now a junior getting full-time starting position. This year I told her at the beginning of the year, hey, we're going to spot start you with a freshman depending on matchups. And she has just ran with her chances. It shows what happens when you stay and you can develop and work on your craft. She's got a good relationship with Coach Tara McGowan. And so those are the types of kids and those are the types of stories that as a coach you still fight for because they're still out there, but we do fixate on, well, people have left. Well, I really do think it's cool to see the people who stay and watch those numbers skyrocket. Megan Lake was somebody last year, kind of spot started for 3 years and hits almost 400 as a senior as our starting left fielder. Like, I wish the world kept telling more of those stories, but I do understand the fad right now as people do leave and the transfer portal is rampant.
Well, you mentioned 9 games to go. You kind of control you do control your own destiny in terms of trying to get into the conference tournament. I know you got a lot of things going on. Our sponsor, Lithia Ford, has an event with Shannon after the game on Sunday with some signed softballs and things. So I know that's one of the many things you have going on. But Friday, the Bronco Bold game. Saturday, you mentioned Alumni Day. And then on Sunday, it's also Bark in the Park Day and Wear Pink. Big games, obviously, and a big opportunity at home. I mentioned the weather should be nice and a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Starting with Alumni Day, it's always cool to give kind of a shout out to the people who have done it before us. I think it's a great reminder of what we are. We're a blue-collar community. We're a family. And so I'm hoping we're also bringing the baseball team out. I know we don't have baseball here anymore, but we're getting some of the alumni from the baseball teams to kind of still feel a part of the community and feel that love. And so I'm hoping we have a good turnout. Weather should be great. And I'm looking forward to listening to some of those baseball stories after the game. And we're going to go grab some dinner and hang out. And so excited for that piece. And then obviously the pink game is always something that's close to my heart. We've had some players personally affected by it. And so that's something that is just for them personally to be able to honor their families on that specific day is something that's really, really cool. And so I'm excited about the marketing plan for this weekend. Should have great weather, and I'm hoping the attendance is there to support it. A really pivotal series for us moving forward.
Yeah, again, that'll be 6 o'clock on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday, and noon on Sunday. Stuff going on all weekend. Very affordable, cheap tickets. Not a better value in town to sit out on the berm there and try to catch a home run ball in the outfield and have a cold one on a nice sunny day this weekend. So, Justin, appreciate your time, man. Best of luck, especially after last night. Long road back. Appreciate you waking up and doing this. And we'll see you this weekend. UNLV, big weekend. Hopefully some big crowds and a lot of events and things surrounding that. And it should be fun. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, BJ.
All right, go on a run here. Get to that conference tournament, and we'll get you back on.
Right on. Will do.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. Justin Shults, Boise State softball coach, nice enough to join us here on Bronco Nation News. And again, 3 games against UNLV this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As he mentioned, 6 of the last 9 games are at home. They go to San Diego next weekend, and then they finish up back at home against San Jose State April 30th, May 1st, and May 2nd. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So 6 home games left, and then hopefully they'll have the conference tournament to follow after that. So appreciate Coach for coming on. Hey, a couple more quick sponsors I want to thank. That includes Ridley's Family Markets. ShopRidleys.com. Check out a local Treasure Valley Ridley's location. They got Magic Valley, Treasure Valley, McCall. Love that location up there. So whether it's a CUNA location, Ridley's Family Markets, think local. Think Ridley's Family Markets. Find a location near you. Get more information at shopridleys.com. Hey, rowpaint.com. You looking to get into the painting? You need some work done and you're looking to get a professional project done. Well, rowpaint.com can do that for you. If you're looking to get into the concrete coating, they got the interior, the concrete coatings. They did that twice on our back patio, our garage at our old house. That concrete slab, they can turn it in no time into a beautiful looking slab. And so rowpaint.com can help you out. They also do interior, exterior painting, commercial, residential, industrial. Check them out today, rowpaint.com. And hey, transportation compliance service, if you need a new job and the trucking industry is booming right now, it's a local company helping out folks all around the world, whether it's DOT, overweight, all the different permits and things. You are looking for a fresh start, new job, transportation compliance service is who you need to reach out to and contact. And we appreciate Jeff Minert and company. Transportation Compliance Service online, transcompservice.com. Great show today. Appreciate all of our guests. Appreciate the discussion. Do want to hear from Stuart Taiafu, the center. We'll hear a little bit from Stu here, and appreciate you guys. The full interview is up on BroncoNationNews.com. But let's finish up with a little more football talk. Red freshman was in Utah, went down to Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas to finish up, came in, sat last year, and now might be in line to be the starting center. You think about all the injuries and things right now on the along the offensive line, and a lot of guys are sitting out. And you had some available spots too with Cage Casey leaving at left tackle, and obviously it's center with Mason Randolph leaving. And one of the guys that has taken advantage of his opportunity early on, Stuart Taiafu. And it's going to be hard for me to pronounce that. It's Taufa. He told us yesterday. I apologize to Stu if I'm messing it up. But Stuart Taiafu, 6'1", 300-pound center, and really enjoyed chatting with him. Let's hear a brief part of that interview.
Like this spring, getting so many reps and getting to be a key part there on the line.
It's been great. I'm excited. As we talked about earlier, we got the 2-spot going on. So it's been nice to get a lot of reps. Obviously, we're not too deep right now because of injuries. So when we got those whites rotating in, a lot of us boys are still staying on there, but it's been good. Being able to get more reps just means I'm able to get better and really see what I need to prove on to get better on.
At your young age to be out there working with the top unit and stuff, I mean, I know you maybe saw was coming with depth chart last year and knowing who was leaving, but what have you done to kind of put yourself in position here, as a redshirt freshman?
I think the biggest thing coming in, I that me and Coach King talked about was the mental state of stuff. Like obviously, I mean, I was blessed to be able to go to a big program that set me up physically, but now going into where we are now, I got to get my mental right. So being able to prepare for situations, like personnel, what all that may bring, I'm just trying to get better knowledge-wise that way I can be better for my boys. Because obviously as a center position, you know, you got more control, and I got to be able to let everybody be able to depend on me. So
a lot of coaches have praised the strides you made this offseason. You know, what do you think you did to really put yourself in this position?
I think from the get-go, obviously right when I got here, I mean, my mindset was like, you know what, there's 2 older dudes, but I'm still going to shoot for it. You know, I'm going to see if I can get that spot. And throughout season, we went, obviously, I was like, you know, it's not it, but we're going to shoot for next year. And I think I've just been on that grind, thankfully, just trying to get better, really, I don't know, physically, all that stuff.
Where are you better this year than you were last year? Where are you better this year than last year?
I would say mentally wise, I'm a lot better, especially in the playbook. That's a big thing. When I first got here, my first spring, you guys, I was all over the place, lost. But I feel like right now I got a good grasp of how things are going. Obviously, we're changing up things here and there, but overall, a good grasp of everything.
Stu, I think you've been one of the youngest guys to get a chance to be in the hype circle before practice.
Oh yeah, that was.
What did that mean to you?
It was big. It was great. I'm obviously, so I live in dorms. I'm sitting here scootering, and I get a text from Ben Hilgard, and he's like, "You got Bronco Jacks?" I was like, "That Bronco Jacks?" Like, you know, the one where everybody breaks down. And so it was a blessing. It really was. I was very blessed to be able to realize that I got to break down all these boys before practice. You know, like, because that's the time to reunite everybody, like get everybody going, get everybody ready. And so it was great.
Yeah, you obviously said you weren't big on quotes, I heard, but you have one ready to go. I don't know if you can recite it or not, but whether you can or can't. How did you kind of find like that message, and why do you feel like that was important for the team to hear at that point in time?
That message. So what the quote was I will do today what others won't, so I can do tomorrow what others can't. And so that has really stuck with me. I heard that back in high school, and like that's always been my mentality. And coming into spring, obviously practice 7, everybody was getting tired. You know, bodies fatigued, minds are heavy. Like especially with the 2 spot, everybody's like, dang, you know, we got to go again and again. But it's like, this is what is going to prepare us for come season when we're going on a 14-play drive, you know? Like the O-line, like this, we're used to this. We've been doing that. And so I think that was a good message to get across to everybody.
You might have had the heads up, but like, what was it like actually stepping in the circle?
All right, there is Stuart Tiofa, and again, got a chance to be the starting center possibly this year. And great story, great guy. The whole 10-minute interview is up on our YouTube channel. You can go watch that. Bronco Nation News YouTube, youtube.com/Bronco Nation News. If you are watching on YouTube now, just click on our channel. If you're watching on Facebook or X, we would appreciate if you start following us and watching us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button in the bottom of the screen there, and that is youtube.com/Bronco Nation News. Fun show. Appreciate all of our guests. Sun Cruiser Studios. Go get a blueberry vodka lemonade, get a strawberry lemonade, get a lemonade tea, half and half, all the various options and flavors from Sun Cruiser. We appreciate our studio sponsor. And of course, Jim Sturk, Lithia Ford of Boise, lithiafordboise.com. They're taking care of Spencer. They're taking care of Jeremiah. They're taking care of all different players, coaches, administrators. They can take care of you as well. Lithia Ford of Boise. View their full inventory of vehicles online, lithiafordboise.com. New or pre-owned vehicle. That's at Lithia Ford of Boise. Appreciate you guys. Almost 90 minutes today here on a Wednesday. Had no practice, nothing going on. Figured we wanted to give you a good show today. So hopefully you enjoyed the show. Appreciate you for watching. Thanks for your support. Go support the sponsors. If you want to keep this show free of charge, go support all the sponsors we told you about throughout the show, many of which you see on the screen behind me. This show is not possible to be free of charge on YouTube with the guests and co-hosts and things that we have and the expenses that we have if you don't support the sponsors and let them know. I appreciate our man Mason. He posted a long tweet on Twitter. Appreciate that as well, Mason, shouting out Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate and saying that he moved into their house in Caldwell yesterday. It was a bumpy road trying to close on our California house. We truly feel fortunate we were able to work with a team at Matt Bauscher and what he put together for us, including Future Mortgage, Title I. He said Bauscher Real Estate, and they're worked with absolutely amazing, energetic, professional, really cared. You mentioned Matt Fisher is who they worked with, never wavered, shared the weight of all the frustrations with us, stayed on top of everything for the right person. It was the right person for us in our situation. Thankfully for his efforts and all-around personality. Grateful for everybody involved in the process. Pretty impressed with this house they built. We're excited to start making memories in our new home. And I hate to think of a world where I didn't have at BJ Rains recommending Bousher Real Estate every morning on Bronco Nation News. Who knows how this could have turned out otherwise. Awesome, Mason. Appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much for supporting the sponsors. Again, thank you for letting us know and letting Matt Bousher know that that's the reason that you decided to go with him. So thanks, guys. Do the same thing. Support the sponsors. Let them know about it. Post about it on social when you do, even if it's as little as buying a soda at Jackson's or a taco at Taco Bell or whatever. It all goes a long way, guys. So appreciate you for supporting the sponsors. Appreciate you for watching. And we'll have Johnny Ball game tomorrow. We may go a little bit long. I mean, different time again tomorrow. Might be looking. I'm not sure if we're going to go early, late. I got to talk to Johnny. Johnny likes going early, so we may go 8:45 tomorrow. We'll see. But be on the lookout on social media. We'll let you know what time we're starting the show tomorrow and get you ready for football practice tomorrow. We'll be tracking the transfer portal news. Again, our transfer portal intel piece. Nathan Carroll diving into the numbers of all the guys linked to Boise State. Who should they be targeting? What are the latest updates on that? If you're wanting basketball portal news, and if you want to kind of have a primer on each guy that they're, just a name on a paper, but who do you want? Which guys are the best fits? Nathan's got that at BroncoNationNews.com for paid subscribers right now. And again, 60% off that annual subscription right now. It's like $5 a month at BroncoNationNews.com. And again, when you subscribe, the whole 24/7 network is included. All of our recruiting rankings, our database, the message boards at other schools' sites. You get the best in the business when it comes to recruiting coverage and current coverage of Boise State and the various teams. So 60% off, BroncoNationNews.com. Go subscribe right now before the deal ends, and you can read the latest basketball transfer portal news. Chris Van Sickle talked to a football recruit. We're going to have that story posted today as well. So ton of coverage coming to the website. Appreciate those of you that already subscribed. Hope more of you will decide to do it as well. And appreciate all of you. Again, support the sponsors. Go subscribe. Hit like and subscribe on YouTube on the way out the door here. And we'll talk to you tomorrow morning as the football team gets ready for practice 10 of spring camp. We'll have football news. We're tracking the basketball portal news as well. BroncoNationNews.com, those message boards. Go check them out. And there's discussion throughout the day when news breaks on football, basketball portal. We're tracking all that stuff today. We'll be all over it. There could be some good news coming. We'll see at some point here in the near future. There's going to have to be. And we got you covered. We're ready to go. And we appreciate you. Have a great day. Hope this rain stops. Looking forward to nice weather this weekend. But we'll see you tomorrow morning on Bronco Nation News Live at 8:45, 9 a.m., somewhere around there on YouTube. And we'll see you in the message boards. Bronco Nation News online, presented by Lithia Ford of Boise, our title sponsor. From the Sun Cruiser Studios, this is BJ Rains for BroncoNationNews.com.